One day in Germany, it was such a hot day, and I craved this so much.
This?
Yes.
Tan. So mild.
So cool, refresh. I couldn't find it. Not only iced-americano, but also all other iced coffees. Why?
That's a hard question. Yeah, actually, it's hard to find it in Germany. In traditional cafes, I don't think you can order iced drinks. They will look at you really confused. Only in more modern, like hipster cafes, which are spreading a lot now, like also to small towns. There you can find it, and that happened like 2 or 3 years ago.
To know the reason,
We need to understand the history
Yeah.
of coffee in those countries. The coffee culture in Germany is quite old. It started in 1600 that coffee kind of became a thing in Germany, that people knew about it. 1677. The first coffee shop was there, founded in Hamburg by English people. And from that point onwards, the coffee culture was very much influenced by the British and also by the Vienna people. So first coffee was only available for the rich and wealthy, but then in the middle of 1800, it started to become more accessible also to the middle class. They loved coffee. We even created a term around it, and that term is Kaffeezeit or Kaffee und Kuchen. If I go to my grandmother at around 3 p.m., so that's the Kaffeezeit, the coffee time, I really feel obligated to bring a piece of cake, otherwise I would feel like I'm rude or something. For a long time, the way of drinking coffee stayed quite the same until after the Second World War. In the 50s, 60s and 70s, a lot of Italian workers came here to work, and they also brought their coffee with them. And Italy, of course, is famous for espresso and all the drinks that come with them. So cappuccino, latte macchiato, all those drinks are made from espresso. And Germans really loved everything that comes from Italy back then, because they travel there a lot. So they loved to have those coffee drinks also here in Germany because they reminded them of the holiday.
in contrast to Germany, to Korea, coffee was introduced quite late in 19th century. It's even recorded in the history. The king of Joseon dynasty, Gojong, tried the coffee first time in Korea in 1896 in Russian legation. Back then it was called kabecha or yangtangguk in Korean. Just like in Germany, in the beginning, the coffee was only affordable for the upper class. When it was spread to the public was after the Korean War, since the American armies brought all the instant coffee. For Koreans, instant coffee was the first coffee we tried. The mixed coffee is invented by a Korean instant coffee company in 1976. It was actually the first time in the world they mixed instant black coffee powder, and we called it Prima, which is plant-based cream, and sugar. It was very sweet.
Yeah.
When guests visit, this mixed coffee was something you would bring to the guests at home or in the office.
But you don't drink coffee in the morning yet. Like, would people...
I would say rather in the afternoon after the lunch. Now, how do we drink it?
So now let's talk about how Germans like their coffee. Generally, I would say Germans like their coffee hot and strong. Actually, we found a study that shows that 45% of the Germans didn't have a cold coffee drink in the year 2019. So we really like hot coffee. Secondly, we like it strong. At home, we really like filter coffee, capsule coffee, so Nespresso is capsule. Pad coffee is kind of filter pad with coffee powder inside it. You put in a machine and click a button. So those three drinks are strong black liquid that I love. You might dilute it with a splash of milk or with a bit of sugar, but you can't really cool it down. The only way to cool it down is by waiting. Outside, we drink a little bit different coffee. There, I think we really like Italian coffee drinks like espresso, cappuccino, or latte macchiato. They're based on espresso, milk, and milk foam. And it's just a matter of the ratio of those three things that make the drink. We don't really add syrup. Many cafes don't have it. No vanilla latte, which is everywhere in Korea. However, in summer, we have one exception to that, called ice cafe, which is a real deal in summer. Usually 2 scoops of vanilla ice cream with cooled down black filter coffee. So in the cafe I work, actually, we make the coffee the day before and we cool it down overnight and then we can sell it the next day. So it can be that there is no filter coffee left for ice coffee.
Now let's talk about how Koreans drink coffee these days. At home, still, we drink a lot of instant coffee. You can just put the mixed coffee, hot water, and solve it. It's very strong, and then you pour a lot of cold water and ice.
Okay. So you could drink iced coffee at home easily because of that instant coffee.
Recent 10 years, the black instant coffee started to become trendy as well. But before that, I didn't actually know that can exist. In the past, cafes, or we called it tabang, they also had instant black coffee, the prima, and sugar.
They sold it?
Yes.
Oh.
Since 90s or 2000s, many franchise coffee brands appeared. In those small individual cafes or also franchise cafes have Americano, and for me, one level above would be vanilla latte. Or like lattes with syrup. All menus would offer both ice and hot. Often iced cafes are more expensive, like 500 won, so less than €1, but still they offer both. There is even a new word in Korean, 얼주가. That means even if you're freezing to death, you need to drink iced Americano.
So I would say Koreans prefer coffee weaker and sweeter and maybe cold. Why black and strong coffee is the basis. So there are modifications like cappuccino and latte macchiato, but for us coffee is the major role in most of the coffee drinks. We don't want to have a water beverage or a milk beverage, we really want to have a coffee beverage. Secondly, for us, hot means freshly brewed. I also heard it much when I was young that cold drinks are unhealthy. So we say that actually cold drinks won't cool you down as much as hot drinks would cool you down, and it's not good for your throat. You might get sick, you might get a cold or something like that. And it's changing nowadays, but still in the minds.
Actually, in Korean there is also a word that you fight the heat with the fight.
Or fire.
Fight the heat with the heat.
I experienced older people in the coffee shop I'm working, they go so far, can I say it like that? Older people go so far that they even drink their 8 or Coke room temperature without any ice and not even chilled in the fridge. So it's like 20 degrees. And as I mentioned, coffee has to be strong. We have even a word for weak coffee in German, which is Blümchenkaffee. That's like flower coffee. And I think this coffee would be in this category. And it comes from, in the past we had those coffee cups and on the bottom there was a small flower painted or something. It was Blümchenkaffee if you could see the flower through the coffee liquid. So it indicated it was really weak. And we don't like it. The last reason, which I'm also thinking that it's changing, but we think ice is diluting the drinks.
Even in our fridge, although it has the freezer, quite big one, they didn't have any space for making the ice.
There is that one exception in Germany, but beside that, I grew up completely without iced coffee drinks. I actually didn't even know Americano before I came to Korea, because if we drink black coffee, it's filter coffee. We don't drink Americano.
But cold iced coffee, because it's so hot, to be honest. I really crave iced coffee in summer.
But I also know many who drink it in winter.
Yeah, that's true. Also, one theory I heard is that Koreans, they want things to be done quick.
Bali culture?
Yes. So they want to drink it really quickly And if it's hot, you cannot do that.
Ah.
And also, we had like 매실차, which was very sweet tea after the meal. Maybe coffee replaced culture.
So they had to be sweet.
Yeah. Also, one more theory is that Koreans drink a lot of 보리차, which is tea out of barley, and we drink it as cold.
It's very watery. It doesn't have a very strong taste.
Actually, that is water for many people. It has the nutty taste. Some people like the nutty and weak taste of Americano and treat it like that.
But yeah, those reasons are all only our opinion.
Yeah.
But times are changing. These days, a lot of modern new cafes open which also sell those ice drinks, and people, especially young people, also want those drinks because I guess they see it on Instagram, like Dalgona coffee. Don't worry, after this video, if you come to Germany, you can have your iced Americano also in Germany. Maybe a bit stronger, but you can have it.
Cheers!
Okay. I'm young.